Plastic Apocalypse film, Sabretooth. Thank you for being here.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is awesome. I haven't talked about the movie in person nor with you for since I started it, really. So this is really exciting.
Yes, and thanks for talking. Let's get right into the questions. So, how's filming going for you?
Well, the filming has been complete now for a few months, but it was I have since I started filming until I finished. It was very, very difficult, but very rewarding at the same time. Let's see, I finished shooting a couple months before Christmas. I think it was like a month or two before Christmas. It was like right before I moved back to Idaho, and which it's a whole other story. But the shooting was different. If anyone who's been following the production of this, it's been completely different than the other Plastic Apocalypse films. As you know, the first ones are shot outside, out in the, actually outside in the dirt. This was a whole different way of doing things. I wanted to go completely like studio production kind of thing on this. So I built an indoor set and put a blue screen behind everything. So when you watch the movie, everything is indoors and it's all on a set against the blue screen. That was awesome because I could, have much more control over the lighting. I could shoot anytime I wanted to. I should actually probably just go into the situation of what this was like. Okay, so when I decided to do this, as most people know, this was going to be. I started out with the follow-up to the prisoner operation, which was going to be the introduction of the Lucifer gun and what happened to Major Windsor and all that stuff. And that introduced a whole bunch of new characters, and it was going to be General Doom's first appearance. And I started work on that, and that's when I came up with the idea, okay, I'm going to do this all indoors rather than outdoors. It's going to be a whole different way of doing things. It's going to be very new. And so I built a table. I built this, I think it was like 7 feet by 5 feet, this table, and it was all made out of just like wood from Home Depot. And it was divided into 4s, and it was locked underneath it with like a table locks, for like you pull a table apart.
Yes.
It was locked together like that with wheels on the legs, and wheels for like a swivel chair, and that thing was huge. And I was at the time when this was being built. I lived in Los Angeles, California, and going to school there, going to film school. And I was going to be working on this film while going to school, and I lived with 3 other people at the time, and they're all good friends of mine. Yeah, but we lived in a 2-room apartment, and I was like, I'm going to build this table, and I'm going to make this thing happen in this house. And they were like, how the hell are you going to do that? I was like, well, I'm going to build this table. I'm going to put my bed in our walk-in closet. So I lived in a walk-in closet, and my spot in my room that I shared with my friend Javon, the spot where my bed was going to be where the stop-motion table was. Yeah, you have to make sacrifices if you're going to do stuff like this. So that was what happened. However, with that little apartment, once I built the table, if you were ever going to get it out of there, you had to just take the whole thing apart because it was so huge. And that's when I started shooting Lucifer, was with that table. And it was going well until it was getting towards the end of school, and I was going to have to do a thesis film. When you're doing film, you're going to film school, you have to do a thesis film. That's how you finish up. And I had some ideas on other things that I was going to do, and I thought, you know what? I stop motion, army men, stuff like that. This is kind of what has made me who I am, because I had some ideas for a short film I wanted to do that was like a Dirty Harry 70s kind of taxi driver thing, and period piece that was going to be like maybe 15 minutes long. And I thought, constant doing that and then, doing this film aside, it's just so much work. I thought, why don't I just make Plastic Apocalypse my thesis film? And I talked to the school about it. I talked to my teachers about it because I was in PW at the time, which is production workshop. It's a 3 semester class where you make your thesis film.
Yes.
And I was in the first semester of it, and I asked them, listen, would because everyone knew that I did these movies. I said, would it be okay if I did Plastic Apocalypse as my thesis film? And they said, well, yes, but it can't be a sequel. It can't be from something that already exists. It can't be something that's, that basically it was just that it can't be a sequel. It has to be something that stands alone on its own. It's like, well, Lucifer was going to be, and also it has to be under 20 minutes long. Mm-hmm. And Lucifer was going to be, I think, 2 episodes. I haven't looked at that script in a long time, but it's broken into 2 episodes, and each one is like 30 minutes to 45 minutes long. I mean, it was a big ass thing.
Yes.
So, which still has yet to be made. But so I was like, well, I can't do that. And I said, God, I eventually came to the realization I have to do another movie. I have to do something completely different than Lucifer. And it was heartbreaking because I built the Lucifer canon and all that stuff. I built these interior sets for the cave that it was stored in. And funny thing is, I actually already shot that stuff. I've already shot all of the footage that takes place in the cavern of Lucifer. So that actually exists right now. So that doesn't have to be reshot. I know, right? Yeah, that's good. But because I really wanted, because that, I don't know, you've seen like images of it on Facebook. That thing is huge, and like the process that I had to go through to make that thing was just unbelievable. And the Lucifer gun is probably the coolest thing, in my opinion, that I've made for Army Men. So it's like, it's still intact, and I still have it. But it's like, I want to put it to good use. And so it was like, damn, I got to fold all this up, and put this aside. And that's where I think I announced it on the Facebook page. Look, I'm not going to be doing Lucifer anymore. I'm going to be doing a prequel now to the first film. That's when I came up with the idea. It's like, well, it has to stand alone on its own thing. It can't be a sequel. Okay, what do we do? And I always, had it kind of in the back of my head, thinking of the backstory to everything and thinking of the world that Plastic Apocalypse takes place in, the Tan invasion of Green Toria, the Green Nation.
So that just and my next question. If you're done, I apologize if I interrupted you.
That's okay. Go ahead.
So my next question is: so where is the film set, and where it's taking place in the whole story of Plastic Apocalypse?
Okay, so in getting to your first question about how filming is, I'll answer that question as we go along,
all right,
because it kind of encompasses everything. So yeah, going with the Sabertooth, it takes place before the first film, before what we call now Hedge Base. It takes place before that. It's about the Tans, specifically General Dune's, I'm just blanking on the name now. It's a 10th Armored Division, 10th Armored Infantry Division, landing on a small island on the coast of the Green Nation there in Myrtle Sector, where the Tans invade. It's about them hitting an island, and the island is called Azazel Island, and it's really small. It's kind of based on Iwo Jima. And it's just right off the coast of Green Toria, and it's nicknamed the Sabertooth, basically. And it's nicknamed that because of it's basically like a resistance nest, kind of like how the Germans had the Atlantic Wall.
Yes.
During World War II, that went from Norway all the way to Spain. That's where France had that part. That's where Omaha Beach and stuff. Those are called resistance nests, and this basically is one of those. It's on the coast of the nation, there to protect any incoming force. And if any incoming invading force is going to come in, they're going to have to go through the Sabertooth. And it's this gigantic, on the island, it's this gigantic hill that's fortified, and it's basically a big strategic landmark for anyone coming in there. They have, because if anyone's going to bypass that thing, forces from it are going to intercept. Right, yeah. So it's a big thing that they have to take. And the movie is about, the movie's main character is Major Windsor, except in this film he's Captain Windsor. Mm-hmm. We all know Major. Right, yeah, we all know Major Windsor before. We all know Major Windsor from the Prisoner Operation, this is him when he has his legs. And so this is before that. This is him full throttle running like the captain and the first like Captain Macabre running through battle and shooting people and stuff. He's like Captain Macabre in this film, and he's the main character. He and Sergeant Tuskin, who is a character who is in Lucifer, who's one of the main characters in Lucifer. He is a character in this as well. He's like the Sergeant Stalwart character in this film.
But its own
and,
I'm assuming, not exact same character.
No, but like it's like he's that role. It's like you got the captain, then you got the sergeant. Yes. So it's basically is that what's going on. The Tans have thought that the Saber-tooth was going to be kind of easy to take out, but the Greens on it are so determined and so vicious that it's just been nearly impossible to take out this island, take this island. So it's like they're pouring just massive amounts of resources into this battle, and just like, is this ever going to end? Unlike in the first film where we see like when they enter, enemy territory and it's all like you can't see anything.
Yes.
In this film, every speck of the ground is covered with dead bodies. So it's just like both Green and Tan. It's just like this. It throws you right in the middle of it, like, and everyone in the movie is like, how much more of this fighting is going to go on? It's kind of I originally wanted to do it as, we see them land, we see them fighting, and see it keep going on and on. Instead, to simplify things, I decided to take it at the very end of the battle, to where it's just like everyone's worn out and there's dead bodies everywhere, and God, is this ever going to end?
So using the atmosphere of the set to tell the story, like implying that all the bodies and the battle zone, showing the actual story through it and the characters as they're going through the world.
Right, yeah. And this one starts with, I didn't want to do this, but I had to establish what's going on. This one has a bookends with the newsreels, just like the prisoner operation. It opens with a newsreel, and but it's the Tan newsreel, and it's the green one. So it's like, the Tans have landed on Saber-tooth Island, and the fighting is fierce, and basically it's telling you what's going on. Will the Tans be able to pull through and all that stuff? And then of course there's a newsreel conclusion at the end. But yeah, it takes place before the first film, so it's before the Tans have invaded the Green Nation. It's about the Tans it's basically to establish Windsor as a character, why he is such a badass, I suppose, is what it is.
Excellent. I'm glad you told us that. So, how long will the film be when you're done editing everything? Do you know?
Yeah, right now it's edited rough. It's like all the footage is edited right now. I'm doing the effects right now, which is taking forever. And but the whole film is edited from beginning to end. And right now it's coming around to about 35 minutes. And yeah, not bad. And when I had to show it to my class, I only showed them the first part of it, but I thought, and it was unfinished. It had no sound actually. It had the voices in it, but it didn't have any sound. And I just didn't have time to finish it because it's so much work. Even though I simplified everything from the first few drafts that I had. When I write these things, I always start off gigantic, and then later on, when I get into production, I have to scale things down just to be realistic. But when I showed it to the class, it was like, well, this is what I have to show you because I haven't finished it yet. And they're like, well, you gonna finish it? I said, yeah, you bet I am. And of course, they gave me an A on it after watching it because how can you, someone who's put their sweat and blood into this thing, and you can see it in the film when you watch it, and it's like, how can you not give someone an A for that, even though they hadn't finished it?
Yes.
And if they hadn't finished it, I would have thrown a fit. But yeah, so the first half I showed was 20 minutes to the class because it had to be 20 minutes, and I said, well, this is only part of it. It's actually much longer. So right now it's, I think, coming around to 35 minutes, plus the newsreels is probably going to be like 40 minutes.
Wow, that's pretty close to the second episode of the prisoner operation, which was like 40-some minutes, I believe. I can't remember the time. Wow, that's really cool, and I'm glad they hear it, and I'm pretty sure that the rest of the community will be happy to hear about it. That's going to be an awesome prequel to our story.
Yeah.
So what has it been like working with your casting crew with this? Because I saw in the background production photos you had a cameraman with you sometimes, and your various voice actors.
Yeah, this was like I say, this was a new way of doing things. And unlike the first films where I was going to just do everything myself, locked in my room or, outside in the dirt, this was going to be an actual production. So there was going to be a cinematographer, there was going to be a sound engineer, a sound mixer, there was going to be, other members to this whole thing. And of course, many more actors than the first film. Nearly everyone in this was going to be. It wasn't just going to be my voice doing different people. It was going to be different actors, and it was great. However, it also presented a lot of problems. So the first thing that we did on the movie, when I was still building sets and building little bunkers and stuff like that. We were casting, and already my friend and my acting friend Nick Dovich, who plays Major Windsor in the prisoner operation, he was going to come back, as Windsor in this one, which he does. He's the main character in it, and he's great. And so he came. I asked him, "Hey man, we're doing this movie. Would you want to come back to it?" Of course, he was like, "Yeah, sure." But when you're doing things for free, because I have no money. When you're doing things for free like this, it's like making a schedule is very difficult because people will only do it when it's convenient for them. They'll go, "Oh, I don't have anything going on this day. I'll do it this day." And so and that's how it was with everyone. So it was with my sound guy and with my cinematographer and stuff. It was like, "Well, I can't come that day because I'm doing this, but maybe I can come this day." And I'm not faulting them at all. It's not like I don't blame them at all. I do the exact same thing. It's not right or wrong. It's just the way it is. You do stuff by how advantageous it's going to be for you. And if I had money, I would have paid everyone, and that would have, but I have no money at all. And if I was rich, this movie would just be 10 times better and bigger and crazier. But I had to go with what I had. And sorry, I lost the words here. Trying to go back to the beginning here. When I decided to do this, I announced it in class, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's cool." And I have, I have so many friends there, back at film school, and everyone has their own craft on what they do. And one of my very good friends is named Cooper. His name is Cooper Shine. He's a cinematographer, and he is an artist. He makes cinematography an art form. He lives and breathes cinematography. And even better, he likes really old, like grainy, like gritty kind of cinematography. He's not like a stylized, artsy fartsy kind of guy. He loves like old movie stuff. He loves shooting on film. Like he's shot a few things on actual film that had to be developed, which is, it's really cool. It's really fucking expensive, but it's really cool. If you got the money, do it. And Cooper's a great friend of mine. I mean, since 4 years ago when I started there, I met him and we hung out all the time and we were great friends. We had great parties and stuff together, and he's just an awesome dude. So when this was coming around, I approached him. I said, "Hey man, would you be?" And he knew that I did this stuff, and he loved it because he actually did claymation when he was a kid. So he loved it. He said he would always tell me like, "Dude, you're fucking awesome" and stuff. I was like, "Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that." And so when this came around, I was like, "Hey, Cooper, would you want to shoot the new Plastic Apocalypse for me? Would you want to be the cinematographer on it?" And he was like, "Fuck and yes." So I was like, "All right, cool." And so that was awesome. And it's like, all right, Cooper's going to be the cinematographer. And so it wasn't just going to look like this shitty digital camera look. The movie was going to look like an actual movie. It was going to be impressive, which it is. And so that was awesome. And what we decided, when I told him, I said, "Listen, I want to make this movie look like artwork by Tom Lee." And if you know who Tom Lee is, he served in World War II. He served in the Pacific Theater, and then he was an artist, and he drew throughout the war too. He did a lot of famous stuff where, it's very gritty, and he did the painting of the guy 1,000-Yard Stare, and he did the painting of, if you ever see The Price, the guy who's walking with half his body blown off, and it's all bloody and stuff. Those are things he actually saw during the war, which he made into paintings afterwards. And I was showing Cooper this artwork because it has this haunting richness and gritty saturation to it that's just very like it seems like you're looking at like everything is almost covered in dirt, and it's just like the sun is 1,000 degrees burning everything underneath it. And I said, this is how I want the movie to look. I want the movie to look like these paintings. So Cooper was like, that's awesome, let's do it. And he went to work and made all the preparations and got all the correct lights to make this thing look that way. And it still has to be color corrected, but yeah, it has this, it's not like the other films where it's all, you know, just like whatever was on the camera, whatever it looked like. There's a definite style to this one that I think I hope everyone's going to like anyway.
Well,
and
a little bit I've seen, I think you've shown in the chat has been really amazing. So I'm looking forward to seeing the final product if everything's done with it. Right.
Yeah. That's the idea. So it has this very uncomfortable and gritty look to everything, and it's very like high contrasty. And so Cooper, he set to work doing that, and it was like awesome. And he, you know, I got my table set up. And the first scene that we did is the first scene of the movie, and it's a jungle setting. So I got all these dead sticks off of trees outside in the parking lot of my apartment complex, and I stuck them in the dirt of the set. Okay, let me backtrack a little bit. The set, how it started was table's flat. However, the flat table has a lip that's like a 1-inch lip that comes out about that much, or a 1.5-inch lip. Comes up so you can put stuff in this, so it's not just like a flat surface. You can fill it up with dirt if you want to.
Yeah.
And so I filled it up with dirt, and then I put these dead sticks in the dirt, and hot glued them to the wood, and put the dirt over them. So it's like trees. They look like trees all around. And then I took like plastic leaves that you get at this big shrubbery kind of stuff that you get at like Michael's for like stuff that old ladies make flowers with. You know, like those fake flowers.
Yes.
And I glued that all to those sticks so they look like trees. And I put like fake moss in it and all this stuff, and it looks really impressive in my opinion. So I thought that worked good. So that was our first scene. And Cooper was like, okay, when we were going to shoot, he was going to be there shooting with me. So it wasn't just me doing it. He was going to be there too. And he was also a stop motion animator, so he knew how to do these things as well. And I don't know what his honest opinion is, but I had fun doing it with him. You know, we were friends, so we'd just be bullshitting back and forth the whole time while filming something, so it wasn't so boring. We'd have like Pink Floyd and like playing in the background and stuff like that, and be listening to music. And again, this was if Javon, my roommate, wasn't sleeping in that room at the time. You know, he had to sleep next to this big set, and we would do that stuff. However, I think Cooper didn't quite realize as things went on. I don't think he quite realized how demanding and time-consuming and stressful this was going to be. Like, he was used to doing little claymation things, and I'm not putting it against him, but like the stuff that we were doing in this was like insane. And you'll know when you see it. And there's just like these crazy camera movements. Stuff that he had never done before. So he'd come to the thing, and I'd show him the storyboards, and I'd say, okay, this is where the camera's going to go like this, and we're going to follow these characters. He's like, you mean we're going to have to like animate them with the camera? It's like, yeah, man. And he's like, oh God, that's going to take 10 hours. I'm like, I know. It's like that's part of it. And Cooper, this wasn't like his thesis film like it is mine, because he's a cinematographer, and cinematography majors had to shoot a movie, but he was doing other people's work because he's a great cinematographer, so he's in high demand, so he was doing other stuff, and on top of that he was also doing paid gigs. And so he was like, look, I can't devote all my time to this like how you are. And so he eventually had to hand everything over to me, and so I was like, he would like tell me, he kind of guided me through what he was doing cinematography wise. And I said, okay, you got to do this like this and stuff like that's how we're going to achieve the look that we're going for. And I said, okay, I think I can follow that. And, but yeah, so he was there for maybe like half the movie. And then like the rest of it, I had to just shoot on my own because he's got a life. He just couldn't, be there all the time. Because if I wasn't at work or school, I was shooting. Yeah. And, I failed some classes because of that, because I concentrated more on the movie than some other classes. But who gives a shit now?
Everything for the shot and making the movie great, right?
Yes, exactly. No, dude, like I'm back in Boise now, and I have a job here. When I'm not at that job right now, I am in this studio working my ass off, living off coffee, trying to make this thing, finish, because I want it to be finished as much as you guys, and I'm tired of waiting. Also, I'm like, God damn it, let's just do this already. So it's been like a year, but it's because it's a new movie. It has a lot of stuff in it that I haven't done before, and it has much more impressive stuff than in the other one, so it requires more time. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, the production. So that, like, working with Cooper like that, it was awesome. However, it was like a little frustrating because he couldn't devote the time to it like I could. And the same goes with my sound guy, Alex. Alex, he actually didn't go to my school. This is an interesting story. So, in the cavalcade of film students, hanging out at houses and bullshitting about making movies and stuff like that, which was an amazing experience. You would just have people in the loop kind of wander in. And this guy, Alex, one of our friends who went to our school, worked with him at this, I think it was a burger place or something like that. And he met him there, and Alex had hitchhiked from New York State all the way to LA, backpacking, and hitchhiking, and he did sound mixing for local bands. And when he got here, he met our friend Dave, and then he just started hanging out, and then, like, we'd go over to friend's house, and he'd just be there hanging out until I was like, and then he started to work on people's projects, like, because people would be working on stuff, and he'd be like, yeah, I know something about sound. So I'd be like, oh, yeah, you want to do this? And they'd give him the equipment. And he just, by, like, default almost, without even trying, he just became, like, one of the main sound guys at our school, even though he didn't go to our school at all. And a lot of... What's that?
Everyone goes to him. Everyone knows he's the guy to go to. You want good sound, you go to him.
Alex is, and he's like Cooper, he's one of my good friends. Like, we hung out all the time and stuff like that. I still talk to him. But yeah, he became the go-to sound guy, and a lot of people thought he actually went to the school, and he'd come in and just check out equipment at the schools, but they call it the cage. It was the school, all the, like, camera equipment, everything that they had was there. And he'd just come in like, hey guys, what's up? They knew him, and hey, Alex is they would just give him equipment, and he never even went to the school. So yeah, Alex, once, just like with Cooper, I approached Alex when this was all started. I said, hey man, would you want to do sound for the movie? And he's like, yeah, okay, sure, I'd be up to do it. But like Cooper, he could only devote as much time to it as he could, because he was doing, like Cooper, other projects that some of them were paid. And how we started, this was actually the first thing we did for the movie. Once I did my final draft of the script and I cast all the people in it, which is, I called up Nick, and then I went to my friend Joe, who also goes to our school. He's an actor, and he's one of those like really, like, ingrained kind of actors. Like, he gets into it, like, deep. And he was a paratrooper, actually. He actually served in Afghanistan. So he knew a lot about this stuff. So he and I would just have conversations about Army stuff for hours, when we were hanging out. And when this whole thing came around, I was like, would you want to do this? And he was like, fuck yeah, man, I want to be in this thing. Because, but everyone knew about it at my school. Everyone knew about Plastic Apocalypse. So when I asked him, he was like, yeah, hell yeah, dude, this shit's awesome. So I was like, all right, man. And he does the voice of Tusken. And he plays Tusken in it, and that was a lot of fun. But Joe he's kind of scary, if I may say. Like, being someone who has gone through a lot of that stuff, who has been through war, who has lost his comrades, and who has, been messed up kind of because of the war. I don't say he's messed up, but he has, like, PTSD like any veteran does.
Yes.
It can be a little intimidating, and he had done a movie with my friend Peter. It was a World War II thing where it was these soldiers out in this foxhole, and when he was making that, he had like a he like freaked out when he was doing it because he had to do a scene where he had to kind of go back and delve into his mind some of the stuff that happened to him. Yeah. And apparently he like freaked out. He started like punching a tree or something. So I was a little worried that was going to happen, but I kind of, he read the script, of course, yes. And I kind of said like, this isn't a dramatic thing really. It's meant to be fun. However, I want you to play it as serious and as intense as you can. I don't want it to be like wacky. I want the performances to feel like visceral. Yes. And he was like, all right, I got it, man. However, when we got out there, like, he can be unpredictable sometimes. And like, how we recorded the sound was we would go into the sound stage at our school, which is this big, like, garage almost. It's huge. And the walls are full of padding and insulation, so it absorbs all the sound. Yes. So, and how we were going to do this, I said, okay, when we record our voices, we're going to act out the scenes while you guys are mic'd. And that's how we did it. We recorded the actors and played the actual scenes out. Mm-hmm. And so when you watch the movie and you see two characters like shooting and going back and forth talking to each other, the actors were actually doing those movements while they were recording their voices. And they had prop guns. And when we went in to do that, like, Joe's character, Sergeant Tuscan, and I'd bring the figures to the recording sessions. It's like, this is you in the movie, and Joe's character, Sergeant Tuscan, his weapon of choice is a submachine gun, is an SMG. So he had a prop submachine gun with him while we were recording, and like sometimes you'd never know, like, because he would throw all this stuff out where we'd be recording something, and I'd say, okay, I want you to talk to him. I want you to come over here and, whack him on the shoulder and he would come up and just be like, in one take he'd come and be like, hey, Private, tell me something, or something like that. And then the next day I'd say, okay, you know what? Let's do it again. Do it a different way. And I'm like, come up and just grab the actor's shoulder and like pull him over, like, did you hear what I fucking said, or something like that. It was like, whoa, okay,
Getting really into this part and doing a really good job of portraying the character, and also with his real life experiences coming out to give life to that character.
Yeah, and there was some times where I would say, like, because he's a sergeant, so he's in charge of this group of people, and he was a sergeant also in the Army in real life. And I'd say there was a part where we were. I said, okay, you guys are going to come around the corner here, and you're going to lead your men, so get your men ready, and then get ready to come up. So he's like, so he goes back into like how he'd be like, all right, you shut the fuck up, stop fucking around. Okay, you over there, get your ass over here, and stuff like that. And some of that stuff makes it into the movie, but we recorded so much stuff that there was some things that we couldn't use, but it was kind of a clash of working too, because the guy who plays Windsor, Nick, mm-hmm. He actually, not only is he an actor, but he's a stand-up comedian. And he's hilarious. And and so like when we're in between takes, he's just like throwing material out there to kind of just test it against people and see if it works. And we're all just cracking up. Meanwhile, we're trying to retain this real, like, intense, energy. And he's talking about dick jokes and stuff like that. And it's just hilarious. And that's the one thing, is that Nick kind of really grasped the Windsor character and made him a caricature. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I like his performance, honestly, but if you kind of listen to it closely, you can tell he's doing like a cartoon kind of thing, when he does it. But hold on one second. But like I say, it was a different style of work, because Joe who plays Tuscan, is very into it. Like, he's very intense. He's very serious. And Nick is like cracking jokes, and like sometimes when we'd be doing a take, he would like ad lib like a joke or something like that, and that kind of would throw people off, or throw Joe off. And so we'd be doing a scene, and he's like, and like Joe is next to him, and he's like, Tuscan, get down on your knees and suck my cock, or something like that. And everyone would crack up and think it's funny. And it's just like, and Joe's just like, dude, I'm trying to be in this, do this thing right here. You're fucking it up. And, but it was hilarious. I like working with both of them. There was another part between them where, they were supposed to be under fire. There's like bullets flying over their heads. So what I had them do is get up in push-up position, down on their face with the microphones like right down here. I said, okay, so it feels like they're straining like that. So they're sitting there in push-up position, just holding their like that, doing their scene. And Joe, right before we go into it, right before we hit action, Joe is trying to get himself into the characters, and he's saying, I guess like the night before he had Domino's pizza and he hated Domino's, and he's like, fuck Domino's, I hate Domino's, fuck Domino's. These are things that actors do. Yes. And he's like, fuck Domino's, Domino's sucks. And I say action, and Nick, for whatever reason, decided to roll with that. And he's like, I know what you mean, Tuscan, I prefer Pizza Hut. And I was just like, God damn you guys.
Well, that's one of the blooper.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of that I thought about putting on a blooper reel. Unfortunately, you can't see any of it, but you can only hear it. And there was another time where, when recording, where this character who's in the movie is this tan character named Noaz, played by this actor I met named Connor. And the Noaz character, I'm not going to give anything away, but he's very, he wants to be a tough guy, but he's not. You know, he's one of those guys. He's like really annoying, like trying to be tough. And the guy who plays Connor, I don't know if he's ever going to hear this, but he's kind of flamboyant and very like, like theater, like S kind of thing. He's very like, avant-garde and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I cast him for that because I wanted him to have, he has this like lisp when he speaks. He has like my name is Connor. Like, I'm not saying anything against him, but that's how he sounds.
Yes.
And I like that. I was like, I want to use that because I thought the idea of having that voice with these like tough guy lines that are like, shut the fuck up, you pukes, and stuff like that was hilarious. And it would just add to the annoyance of the character trying to be tough. And so I did. And so when Connor showed up for the first time, there's a scene at the very beginning of the movie where Sergeant Tuscan, Joe's character, comes up to him and calls him Private. It was written in the script Private Psycho because he does something psychotic, but Joe wanted to change it to Private Retard. So I didn't care really. So I said, yeah, call him Private Retard if you want. So we're getting there, and Connor didn't know this. And Connor comes in, hey everyone, how's it going? I'm glad to be here. And Joe was like already in character. He's like, oh, you're Private Retard, aren't you? Get over here. I'm like, I want to talk to you. And he's like treating him like a recruit. And he's like, whoa, what's all this? You know, he's not a military guy at all. And he's just like, get your ass over here, Private Retard. And it was like, okay. It was he was really intimidated at that point. Yeah. And I kind of said, okay, just, this is his character. He's into it right now. You just got to kind of roll with it. So that was cool. But yeah, all the voice recording was the first thing that was done for the movie before any shooting was done. And that was all done at the sound stage at my school. And it was fun, but the actors had never done anything like it. They didn't quite at first get what was going on. I was like, we're gonna record our voices. We're gonna do it in here. And they walk into this giant empty, warehouse basically, and they're like, so we're recording in here? I'm like, yeah, you're going to be mic'd and we're going to act the scenes out. And they're like, what? Okay. I'm like, there was a lot of things that were kind of confusing for them where, which reminds me of like George Lucas trying to direct actors against a blue screen for the new Star Wars movies. Yes. There'd be parts where like, you have to look at something like one of my actors, Luke, in the movie, who does the Green Sergeant in the movie, Sergeant Shamrock. Yeah. There was a part where he had to like walk from one space to the next, and like I said, and you're supposed to give an order to someone, walk over here, give an order to someone. So I put like just what we had there. I put a vacuum cleaner here, and I put like a trash can here, and then I put like a lamp over here. I said, okay, the vacuum cleaner is the machine gunner, the trash can is the mortarman, and the lamp is your friend or something like that. And you just be like, okay, and it was a little bit difficult for him to like just looking at like a vacuum or something, like imagine like, okay, that's supposed to be a person, it was a little rough. So, but yes. We got it to where we got it down, and it worked as best as we could. I just if I do it again, of course, with everything that you do, you learn from your mistakes. So it's only everything's advantageous in some way. Once it got to film it, like that stuff was difficult. And like I said, Alex and everyone else could only do it when they could. So trying to have all the planets aligned was very difficult. But that's okay. I understand. And then trying to think here, where was I going with what else happened? The shooting it was well, I guess I told you about stuff with Cooper, and we had this gigantic Kina light that was the sun, that we used as our sun, and that thing got so hot that like the room would burn up if you didn't have a window open. And then trying to light the blue screen behind it was another challenge. Like I say, it was great for controlling your set and controlling what you want to do, but it was so much more work, having to do all this stuff with the lights and the blue screen and the camera movement and stuff. And I was using a professional camera. I wasn't using a shitty little digital one, because this is a high definition, like 4K camera.
Yes.
And, which, it's really expensive and it didn't belong to me. So I had to make sure that the dirt was kept out of it. It was really rough. And then, having to turn that table and stuff. By the end of the shoot, that table was busted. Like it couldn't even move anymore without falling apart. So
yes.
It was all thrown away. But yeah, the production on it was good. It was rough though, and I might have to take a long time before I do anything like that again.
So, with everything saying that all this effort you've put into this film, do you think this would be your best films yet, or do you prefer your old style of filming outside in the dirt and stuff? What would you say you prefer over the two?
I prefer this style. I prefer doing it indoors on a set. Honestly, it's just much more controlled. It's much easier in certain ways. It's you're not battling with the elements outside. You're not fighting the sun. You don't have to break everything down and then set it all up the next day. You just leave things the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more controlled. It's much, you can do whatever you want with it. Unlike when you watch the first film, like you'll notice that the sun changes all the time.
Yes.
And which most people, who the hell cares? It's a kid film. It's like it's made by a kid. Well, this is progressing to where it's not a kid. This is going into professional territory now.
Yes. So
you want to make it look professional. However, I'm not an effects guy, and no one would work on this thing, who do effects on this, who would commit such, stuff to it, because nearly every shot has an effect in it.
Yes.
And so I'm doing all the effects for it, and I'm not a professional when it comes to that, so I'm doing the best I can. But the thing I would want to do for the next films is just to make the effects look more convincing, and learn the ways to do that, because this, not only was it a new way of doing things, it's an experiment. Everything is an experiment. It's okay. We're gonna do it this way. Let's just see how well we can do it that way. And so it does look. It's not perfect. The effects aren't like the blue screen effects, and aren't perfect. Not even close to it. But it was my way of seeing how I could do it. It was my way of seeing, okay, let's see how well this works.
Yes.
So the next one after this can be better.
Well, excellent. And that's really cool to hear that you've progressed in your skill and everything else. So, out of everything you've done with this series, what so far would you think would be your plan for the future for this series? Are you still going to plan on doing more episodes, or are you planning on just after a certain time ending it?
Right now, I don't want to end it because I haven't peaked, I don't think, with it yet. And I hope people agree with that. I haven't done the best work. I'm not satisfied yet. I'm not like, yeah, that was enough. No, there needs to be more. I have stories that I want to tell in this world, that I still do. I have things that I want to explore. I want to. Right now, I want to keep going. Is basically it, and it might not be for a while, but I don't plan on stopping after this one. And yes, I do think that this one so far is the best one that I've made. And that's real. It's not as drawn out, I suppose, as the other ones are. The first one, honestly, like I look at that one now and say, yeah, I did that as a test. You know, that was a test to see what I could do, because I would never do anything in that film now that I did back then.
Yeah.
The second one was a step forward. This one is also a step forward, but it's not as, the story is not as broad as it was in the Prisoner Operation. Like the Prisoner Operation, they talk a lot about the world. They talk a lot about what's going on with different characters. They mention different characters that we don't even see. Mm-hmm. They talk about, the Lucifer gun. They talk about all this stuff. This film is mainly just about, let's take out this base. And it's kind of like the first film done much. Yeah, it kind of, it's about the tan side, but it's the first film done on a much more insane level. It's not just take it from one spot to the next. It's just constant. There's just constant shit going on the whole time. It's just insanity. And the effects for it have just been stuff that I've never done before. So it's like really crazy. But yeah, I do want to do more of this, and I do want to expand this world and do other storylines and make this a gigantic, series. I do want to make this a big thing. Mm-hmm. It's just that especially after doing this, and everyone's, who's been following the Facebook page and see it, it's just so fucking hard. It's so much work, and it just takes so much of your time, and it just drains you, and so it's like, yes, I want to keep doing it, but at what cost? Like how much do I want to keep doing of it? So I'm planning on to keep going, but as of right now, especially starting with a clean slate, moving back to Idaho and having nothing, I don't know when that is.
But at least we can agree and plan on doing this, and I'm pretty sure the community will be patient and wait, because I can guarantee what I've seen of your skills improving over the years, you're going to keep doing this, and it's going to be amazing. I think that your work, what I've seen this before, is that you're an inspiration to me and a lot of other YouTubers and filmmakers to pursue Iron Man films, and you've done an amazing job, and they're crazy.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that greatly, and that's what I like doing at the end of the day. Like, I love to do this stuff, but it's the best thing that you can get from doing these things are people's reactions from it and how it affects them and how it impacts them. Like, as a filmmaker, there is no better feeling than when you're showing your movie to people and you look back and see their faces. Mm-hmm. I wish I could do that on YouTube, but that's what the comments are basically. And I love to read the comments, even though I don't reply to a lot of them. But I do love to see people's reactions to it. And when it comes to these movies, the rule is that this one has to be better than the last one, and that's just the rule when it comes to art and film for the most part. It's just that you have to keep outdoing yourself. You have to keep topping it, and that's just difficult to do sometimes. Like if I did the first film again, like the exact same thing, it would be like, why the hell are we watching this? And you have to always keep going one step forward. And that's why this one has taken so freaking long, is because it's the biggest and most audacious one that I've done out of the entire series. And it's I hope to keep doing it, and but my God, it's hard work.
Well, I believe everyone else can speak for a lot of people in the community. We're looking for it, and we really do appreciate you taking the time to make sure this is a quality film, because as filmmakers, we sometimes want to just rush through and get it done, but taking that extra time to make it excellent is what really, I believe, sells the movie and makes it a classic or an epic. Yeah,
I think so as well. I just recently watched a short documentary on Phil Tippett, who did a lot of stop-motion animation for the original Star Wars films, like he did the Tauntauns and the AT-AT walkers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And he was actually originally going to do the effects for the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. Besides the CGI, I don't know if you knew this, yes. The dinosaurs were going to be stop-motion animation originally, not CGI. And he was going to do that, but he got fired. But I watched a short documentary about him, and he said, at the end of the day, or not the end of the day, but like when you start a project, as it keeps going on and on, as you get towards the end of it, you're just like, fuck this thing. I hate this so much. I just don't even want to think about it anymore. And that's absolutely true. That's how every Plastic Apocalypse film has been with me. And that's how I am right now. It's just like, God, I just want to get this fucking thing done. And it's just boring now working on it. But like, once you see it all start coming together, it's like, wow, it's really worth it. And
yes,
I don't know. I really hope that people like it, because you never know with a movie, honestly. It could be like you think it's the greatest thing, and then people just doesn't register with them. I hope this film registers with people, and I hope it's worth the wait. I don't want to like make it seem like it's gonna be the greatest thing to ever grace YouTube. Don't expect that. But it is definitely a step forward in the series of Plastic Apocalypse. So expect to see things you haven't seen before.
Excellent. Well, I think that's going to conclude the interview. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about it. And everyone else, if you haven't, subscribe to Michael Akkerman Plastic Apocalypse channel and look at the Facebook page. It's a great community where you can get a bunch of updates on the film and other YouTubers. Well, thank you again for being here, and we'll catch you later.
Yep.